Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
Hey Janine, how are you? Good to see you. Happy New Year coming soon.
Yeah, it's close to New Year's where you are, that's for sure. This is Tom. He calls himself Tom Numbers. He's from the Psych.Club on YouTube, and we'll have his links below. I think a lot of my viewers know who Tom Numbers is. He's been on top his game for, I'm thinking, I've been watching you, Tom, for at least 2 years. Well, ever since I got red pilled, so maybe 2.5 years. How long have you been onto the numbers and the gematria? Did I say that right? Gematria?
Yeah, Gematria. Yeah, you said it right. Yeah.
Tell us about yourself, Tom.
Well, thanks for having me, Janine. It's a pleasure to do Sending Ravens with you in this way. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, the numbers really started. I mean, I guess March 2020, when kind of the world changed with everything that people know about. That's when I guess the numbers were really triggered in a strong, powerful way for me. And I kind of received it. The best way to describe it is almost like a download, like a conscious, a spiritual download. And I was just trying to figure things out. I've always been I've always had the open mind, and always kind of knew things weren't as they are shown to be, but I didn't know the depth of it, and I didn't know the kind of, I guess, on the flip of that, the full majesty of it as well. I hoped, but I didn't know. I was kind of just searching. But March 2020 came in, and I was guided to look things up. A lot of people were probably doing similar things, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And I something prompted me to look at Princess Diana's funeral service. And her funeral service started, you can look this up online, go to Wikipedia or somewhere else, starts at 9:08 in the morning.
Yep.
And I looked at that, and something made me think, well, that's a strange time to start anything. Yep. Something official, you probably wouldn't start at that time, 9 o'clock, 9:30, maybe 9:15 at a push, maybe 9:20, but not 9:08. So it looked like a code to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, so something told me to add 9 plus 8, because it's 9:08. I came to 17. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know about the back channel. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
But I figured out, something kind of told me, work out what is the 17th letter. And hopefully we can say it here. I say it on my channel, but that letter, the 17th letter, yeah. I was like, oh wow, okay. And I didn't know about the whole thing with the 17th letter drops or anything like that. I wasn't aware of that. I knew that President Trump was getting a lot of disproportionate flack from the world's media. Mm-hmm. But I was here in England, I was doing my thing, so I didn't follow it that much. But I've always been a fan of Trump. I met Ivanka Trump back in 2015. I've always liked the family. I've always felt a connection to them. And so when I realized that, I looked up, it was almost like kind of step by step. And I looked up a video of, I looked up a picture of something prompted me to go and look up JFK's his memorial site. Yep. That got the eternal flame in Arlington Cemetery. I actually thought it was JFK Jr.'s at the time, but there's a picture and you look at it and you can see it looks in the shape of a Q. Yeah, it's like a big circular path. And I actually went there on my trip in September, and I went there. It's a very moving place. And then I found a short YouTube clip from a piece of news footage back probably 20 plus years ago. And they talk about Diana and JFK Jr. and how the press were kind of wanting them to be this kind of new super kind of glitzy showbiz couple, It's like, he's the Prince of America, she's the Princess of England, getting together. So the rumors were that she was going to New York, to Manhattan, to meet him. So they show pictures of her, show pictures of him. And then they met in a few places, but one of the places that they said, or they referenced, was Trump Tower. Yeah. And I was like, the three big important people on this board, the world's just gone into this craziness. And two of them appear to not be around with us right now, but I was questioning that. But one is, and that's President Trump, and he's leading the world every night. So I would just tune in and watch YouTube and listen to him take on the press and all the stuff with all the nonsense of what you can and can't do and all the rest of it. And he was also deliberately misspeaking. Not all the time, but he would say words and he'd misspeak. And I was like, this caught my attention. Then I realized that he was misspelling in his tweets. And he'd been doing that apparently for a long time.
Yeah.
So then I started to piece the things together. And I was like, okay, Diana's start time of her funeral service, 9:08, 9 + 8, 17.
Yeah.
What does that come to? Comes to a Q. And then I realized that every letter in the alphabet had significance in the order that it was in. And I realized that with President Trump misspeaking, I'd work out the value of the letters and the words that he was saying. Yep. Sometimes I'd add the misspeak to the correct version and I'd add them together and I'd get 3 different codes. And I'd start to get a lexicon of all these meanings and numbers. And things would just kind of come to me. Thoughts come into my mind. I'd work out the numbers, I'd record them. And that's really how it kind of grew. There were some examples prior to that where I was being shown the numbers. But it really accelerated in a clear way, pretty much March 2020, Janine. That's kind of when it started, really.
Wow. Did you get any special training for Gematria, or did you just look it up yourself and do the investigation yourself?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I didn't get any special, yes and no. I didn't get any special training from a book or someone saying to me, Tom, have you noticed this? This means this. All of that realization came to me in a kind of conscious spiritual way.
Yep.
But I did get special training because I personally believe that Diana or her angels or my guides and hers were teaching me this. And so I was getting very special training, but not the kind of special training from a person or from a channel or a book. I didn't know what Gematria even meant until maybe 3 or 4 months down the line. I didn't even know what that word was.
Wow.
I just would call it numerology, and I might have even been technically calling it slightly incorrectly, but I just would call it numbers or numerology. So yep. It came to me in a kind of divine download. And then I figured out that the word download, if you spell it out, so A is 1 because it's the first letter, B is 2, the second letter, C is 3, yep. D is 4, all the way through to Z or Z, 26th letter. I worked out that the word download comes to, when you add it all up, comes to 88, which comes to Trump. And that's who I'd been listening to for the best part of the first few months. And I was hearing him every night and working out what he was saying. Yep. And it was a conscious spiritual gift download, really. And it came from the combination of him in the real world, in the 3D, in the reality that we can tune into and like that, but also from kind of whisperings from, I'd say, other sources, inspiration, impressions, thoughts, guided discovery through Diana, if she's still with us. I think she is, but definitely some kind of connection, maybe spirit world connection even, dare I say that, Janine.
Look what I got while you were talking about Diana. Her energy does work with you. And that's interesting you say that about Diana, because I channeled her a long time ago, pre sort of red pill. Like yes. I was on to that Christianity was evil, unfortunately, like not Christians, but actual organized religion, certainly. Yeah. And all organized religions, I think, have been used to manipulate people. But anyway, I was onto that. I was onto governments are suspect for sure, but I wasn't really red pilled onto the Q movement. I certainly didn't know anything about that. And I certainly didn't know anything about white hats, black hats, deep state, dark cult. I just knew something weird was going on in the world, like maybe a bit like yourself. And then that lockdown happened, and then I just woke up, click. And I think a lot of people I think there was something astrological that clicked us up, turned us on. If we were meant to be, we turned on. And I think yours came in the form of numbers, it sounds like. But Diana was part of mine as well. So that's interesting that we have that connection. Because when I first channeled her, even before I got any kind of red pilling about the current situation, just before the lockdown happened, I channeled a bunch of people that we still thought had passed on. I no longer think she's gone. I think she's still with us. But her soul talked to me anyway, and actually told me details about her death. Okay. And actually gave me the idea that it was absolutely planned and who planned it. So she didn't want to divulge then that she was still with us. She just wanted us to know what the plan was, the bad guy plan.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah.
later, after I was more red pilled, I looked into her again, and she started talking to me on the regular, but that she was actually with us by then. But her soul self wasn't ready to let us in on it, and that happened sometime. There was a good reason why she might not have wanted us to know yet. We weren't ready to know. And I think she's been working, like she works with me too. Anytime I want, she helps me with things. So I get it. She's very, her soul energy essence is really powerful, very evolved, and maybe it's been both helping a lot of people, maybe.
Yeah. I didn't know that with yourself, Jenny. So that's amazing. That doesn't surprise me what you just said, though. And I do think she's super key in all of this. And talking of the numbers with her, so I said the word download is 88, Trump is 88, but I purposely put on a light purple, and you've got purple today, and purple is 88 Trump. I think the very first time me and you did a show, if I remember right, I think you had purple on that day, because I remember the trigger, and I was like, oh, Janine's she's in the flow, even if she may not know everything. She's fully in the flow, but she didn't maybe know all the trinkets there. But 88 is Trump. But if you do Diana's full name, so this is interesting as well. So if you do Diana Spencer, which is one way to say her name, that comes to 109. And 109 also comes to my channel, which you've mentioned, Psych.Club. And I chose that in October 2019, quite deliberately, but for something a little slightly different. My background is in coaching and mental performance, and a kind of an affinity with sports, but regular people as well. But I chose that deliberately. Little did I know we were going to enter into 2020 and all of that pulled up. But I kept my channel. I thought I need to do a YouTube. I felt for a couple months. So I finally did in May, of 2020. And I've been learning the numbers solidly for the best part of maybe 2 to 3 months. And I didn't work out the numbers on my channel until later, but I put it out, and I felt I had to do it. And I spoke about 17, Q, Space Force, President Trump, Ivanka when I met her, Diana, JFK Jr. And I just did what I did. But in that, I got my first orb. So I get orbs of light appear in my videos, and I've had them on Diana, I've had them on Ivanka, I've had them on the Kennedys, and they kind of seem to confirm specific people or things that I'm talking about. And I've also seen orbs on you as well. I've seen them in your videos. So
that's funny.
So it's good. I've seen them on Rachel Right Side Blonde. I've seen them on Dave Mahoney. I've seen them on Jack Kidd. Charlie Warders spoken to me just on the phone, and he said, what's this above your head? He's seen stuff that I haven't seen. When I'm talking to him, because it's been the picture of him, and I haven't seen the smaller one of me, but he said, what was that? So it's, they do confirm us, like you said, kind of being activated and waking up, and it's always fun. But the orbs is just another little kind of, not little, it's major, but it's another gift. It's another confirmation in this kind of direction that we're going into. But the numbers on Diana, so 109 comes to Diana Spencer, comes to Psych.Club, my channel, but it also comes to 17. So if you spell the word 17, it comes to 109. So I chose that deliberately, but from a different perspective. And then I figured it out later. It even comes to Zapruder. The Zapruder film for the JFK film comes to 109.
Wow.
And if you do the full version of Diana, so if you do Diana Frances Spencer, Frances with the E at the end, the female way of saying it, comes to 175, which comes to consciousness. It also comes to Millennium Wheel, that big down on the River Thames, and River Thames comes to 138, comes to Donald Trump. And so there's all those things. They're all there, Janine. And even if you do Houses of Parliament, which is right next to it, comes to 217, which comes to the Princess of Wales, which is one of Diana's titles, and it also comes to one way to say my name, Tom Sidney Bushnell. So the numbers are everywhere and they're all close to each other. And it's like, how on earth did I figure that out? I don't know, but it pops into my head and, you know, there it is.
Yeah, I feel like numbers have a magical quality, and they're another way that the universe channels information to us. Just like tarot for me, the visuals of tarot, but tarot is all aligned with numerology as well. So aligned with astrology and numerology. And the more somebody learns, you know, astrology and numerology, the more they're going to be a better tarot card reader. You know, so I have a lot of respect for the numbers, but I never took it to the extent you do. So then the gematria part is a little different than just regular numerology.
Yeah, so the gematria, I mean, there's a few versions of gematria. So there's simple gematria, which is A to Z, 1 to 26. That's the one I do, really. There's other ones like Hebrew, and you kind of just change everything you multiply it by 6. And there's other versions. You mentioned tarot, so you're my first experience of tarot, and it's like it seems to me like everything else, if I ever did it anywhere else, it'd probably be a disappointment, because I was like, well, wow, Janine's world class at this. And I always believe once we're, you know, into the victory, you'll be the woman on TV teaching everyone this. So that's, you know, that's what I've always felt that. I believe that to be true. So but tarot, when you spell it out, comes to 74, which also comes to gematria. So when you spell the 2 out, they'll come to the same value.
That's mind-blowing. Can I ask you about the year 2022? I know you did a little, and I think everybody should go watch it on Psych.Club. You did a little walk and chat, I call them, where you're outside and you're talking about the year coming and a few things with numbers on the year. But could you share that with our audience as well?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that for sure. Also, another 74 is people talk about Yeshua a lot, and there's varying spellings of Yeshua. But Yeshua, if you do the Jewish spelling of Yeshua, it's Y-S-U-A. Sorry, Y-S-H-U-A, I should say, Yeshua. Guess what that comes to? 74. So it comes to gematria, comes to tarot. People think differently, but it also comes to Jesus, comes to Messiah for the Jews, comes to Muhammad for the Muslims. And so all of it even comes to the Druze, 74. And even in Easter eggs in the films, because I'm a big film guy as well, Back to the Future, I talk about that a lot. The DeLorean, the DeLorean time machine, DeLorean comes to 74.
Wow.
Yeah. It also comes to the word energy. President Trump talks about people having energy, and he said New York is a place of energy. And his talking of Jesus and the 74, he comes from a line of Christ. His middle name is Christ. Well, not his, but his father's middle name, his grandparents' middle name, and a great-great-parent. They all come from a line of Christ. And it's like, what's all that about? You know, so there's a lot of powerful things. And even if you do Jesus Christ, 151, it comes to the Jasara reset. It comes to drain the swamp. And it also comes to Lady Diana Spencer.
Wow.
Yeah, it does. And you've been talking a lot when you do reads on President Trump, you talk about this kind of energy of the divine feminine. And it's like, well, I don't know, but maybe, you know, Diana could be in that bracket, perhaps. I don't know, but, you know, her numbers add up to that. 151, Jesus Christ. So.
Well, there's definitely a divine feminine energy. And I get the Empress with Trump a lot. But of course, Diana figures in there too, because I would say she was an example of a divine feminine for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And she's been sprinkling her magic on me and on you and others. And so, you know, when we get to the other side, or maybe when we get further along and it becomes clearer and clearer how everything is connected, I think we're just going to be pleasantly surprised and reassured and confirmed, I think. And maybe other things we just didn't even really fully understand, but I think it will be majestic. So, but yeah, so 2022. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, talking of Trump and gematria. So if you do the words simple gematria, which is probably the most common way to describe A is 1, Z is 26, 1 to 26, which interesting enough, A equals 1, Z equals 26. Add those together, 1 plus 26 equals 27, which is AZ. Think of the Arizona thing with the Yeah, that. But also 27 comes to code, which Gematria is. It's a code that we weren't really taught at school. I had to kind of receive it from a download at the beginning of this epic change. But also JFK comes to 27.
Oh, wow.
Which is, yeah. And if you do, the word simple also comes to 74. And most things that are pure and divine are simple, beautiful, but they're also complex as well, but they're simple as well, you know, if you have the pure heart to figure them out. But if you do simple gematria, 74 plus 74, that comes to 148. Simple gematria comes to Emmett Brown in Back to the Future. He had a time machine. You have to travel at 88 miles per hour. 88 equals Trump, 88 equals purple. We're both wearing that today. 88 equals download. But if you do simple gematria, 74 plus 74 comes to 148, which comes to Donald J. Trump.
Wow.
So everything it's all connected, you know, it's all connected. But yes, you wanted me to talk about 2022 going into it, yeah?
2022, the number.
Yeah. So 107, I did one with one and Rachel just a few days ago, but he likes to drop the zeros, and that's definitely one way you can do it. I kind of keep it all, I keep most things open. I don't really reduce them, but you can. So when you look at 2022, if you drop the zeros, you come to 222. And we've been told to follow the twos. And even in the Q film Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze, they even say follow the twos. So I've always noticed this 222, and 222 comes up a lot. It comes up, there's three things there's a few, but there's three that I'll mention. One of them is, if you do the simple gematria on 222, one of the values is 1,000 years of peace, 222, which makes you think of,
what feels like it's coming.
Yes.
Like I feel like we've truly stepped away from the demonic timeline, which I know there's a lot of things circulating, describing in full detail what was planned, like the agendas that were planned, and they're horrific, but I don't even bother clicking on those emails anymore because we've stepped away from, that's been stepped away from, and I'm not going to help manifest any part of it by even talking about it or giving it energy. I'm just really stubborn that way.
No, we don't need to. We've passed that, and now it's going into, I mean, whenever the actual start date of that was, or if it's just a blend or a transition of dates, we're into that process. And Steve Bannon, who has worked with Trump, he did a piece in front of the Statue of Liberty last summer with a gentleman from the new Chinese Republic, and they made reference to this new Republic of China that the press didn't feature, but it was on YouTube. It still is there. And they talked about this new country, this new regime, a good regime. And it's interesting. They're standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. If you do the numbers on Statue of Liberty, it comes to 198. 198 comes to the resurrection, comes to President J. Kennedy, and also comes to President Trump. So there's a lot of numbers and symbology behind that. People think, oh, that's just an awful thing. Well, as with everything, there's always a good and a bad side to stuff, you know. So if you focus on the good and you find the new transition, Statue of Liberty is iconic, and I believe that's has been or is being transitioned to something good that, you know, will be used by the White House. Hence him standing there and reading that out. But one of the important points in that document that they read, that Steve Bannon read, is he said the Chinese Republic were doing this for a thousand years of peace. He said it in that document.
That's right.
And so 222, 1,000 years of peace is 222. But also it comes to, so when I was in New York in September, I stayed in the Nikola Tesla Hotel. And there's a few ways you can do the numbers with the Tesla Hotel, but it's actually called the New Yorker. So if you do New Yorker, there's actually a sign outside, and I did a little video on it, but it's the brand that it's been kind of acquired by is called Wyndham. So there's a set of Wyndham hotels. But the word Wyndham comes to WYNDHAM, comes to 88. Trump again, purple, 88 again. So it's on the side of the New Yorker hotel where Tesla lived technically for the last 10 years of his life, but who knows, maybe Tesla still would, I don't know, but he could well be. But and I stayed in that room actually where he lived, but it says Wyndham New Yorker, that comes to 222.
Wow.
So that's on there. And
Yeah.
then when President Trump and his family moved to Mar-a-Lago,
Yep.
which I got to go and visit at the tail end of my trip, and which is a beautiful place. I did see President. I didn't get to speak to him, but I saw him. I was inside and he was outside, and he walked past. And I was like, I tried to get, say hello, but I was pretty close to him. But Mar-a-Lago is also known by the phrase "Winter White House," and the Trump team put that out. They said, "Well, now that we're not in Washington, we're going to move to Winter White House."
Yeah.
Guess what Winter White House comes to? It comes to 222.
Wow. So with the year coming 222, they could people could align a lot of. First of all, Tulsa had a lot of things that he was designing, creating that got, I think, stolen.
Yes.
And repressed, and like free energy, just for instance. I feel like that would be signaling, okay, this is going to be a year where maybe we discover that, maybe we get it handed back to us. That would be a big part of what people are calling sort of Nasara Jasara in a way, right? That could go along with it. Like a lot of the things Tulsa discovered and or was a part of and was trying to develop, I think literally got stolen from him. And it's interesting that Trump's uncle, wasn't it, was sent in to clear out that room of his, and his sort of where he kept his secret information. That information ended up with a Trump, which is really interesting.
Exactly.
And I think it got put in safekeeping and handed down,
Oh yeah, for sure. I believe that wholeheartedly, that because I do believe time travel exists, and I've been shown a few little pieces of that, and it's real. It is real, and I do believe that they've been using that to do the things that they've been doing in the good way now. The White Hats have been using that, and it's I mean, there's other, they don't spring to mind right now, but there are other ones that connect very closely in terms of Trump's name with time travel. One of the Q posts is dark to light. And if you do dark to light, that comes to 125, which comes to time travel. And so as we go from this dark to light, I believe that one of the vehicles, one of the mechanisms, one of the technologies or blessings or spiritual gifts, whatever you want to call it, has been time travel to help bring those things to pass. And the movies have been teaching us about that. Back to the Future, that's all about this time. It's all about Trump. 88 miles per hour. Why not 87 miles per hour? Why not 89? Why not 73? Or, no, it's 88. What's 88? Oh, it's Trump. Is, Emmett Brown has a time travel machine. Emmett Brown 148, Donald J. Trump, simple gematria. You can go on, but they're all there, But 2022, I think, will be a really revealing. You also, as well, he said about particular dates. So one of the dates that I think perhaps could happen, they might shift it. I don't know if us saying it will shift it, but Nikola Tesla, if you do the numbers on Nikola Tesla, that comes to 119, which comes to redemption, comes to foundation, but it also comes to London Bridge. Now, London Bridge, I think you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So London Bridge is the code for, it's the thing that they said when Elizabeth passes, the Queen, they say that there'll be Operation London Bridge.
Yeah.
And so I remember someone months ago, I was walking around Regent's Park. Regent's is 88, Trump Park. So that's where I live. And some people walked past me, and I had my London T-shirt on.
Yeah.
And London is 74, Gematria. And they kind of randomly walked past, and they just went, London Bridge, and they were referring to the attack that had happened there a couple of years ago, or whatever that was, And I thought it was strange, but then I looked at it, and I worked out the numbers, and I was like, Operation London Bridge, okay, London Bridge. So I don't know, but maybe, January 19th equals 119. I don't know if that's significant or not. I don't know. It could be something else, but that's one date, perhaps. Maybe something might be shown. I don't know. But 119 is Nikola Tesla. It's London Bridge. It's redemption. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, the whole London Bridge in reference to what happens to the Queen. We'll just say it like that.
Yeah.
And of course, my belief is that happened a long time ago.
Yes.
Queen, shall we say?
I'd agree.
Right.
Yeah, I'd
That's
agree.
what I believe anyway. I believe a lot of this is just a big, literally a movie. And that includes the whole Ghislaine Maxwell situation. She wasn't in the trial. That's already happening somewhere else. That was a big movie. So it was and it's fascinating that they actually ended the movie where she actually gets charged. I was getting that wasn't going to happen. But interesting, they chose to end it that way. But I believe that's white hat op right there. So apparently, according to this Phil guy that does rapid fire, and I watch him, I don't get everything he talks about. I'm not into, but I totally get his information on what's happening and Q drops, and like he's a master at that kind of stuff. So that's where I go for info on that. What's Mr. T up to and everything. I look to him a lot, and he's saying that was a comm, and it's the second last one, and there's one left, which I'm thinking is, and he wouldn't say what the one left was. He said he could only say after, but I'm thinking it's London Bridge.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting that you brought that up. And it's funny because a lot of people, like, I don't openly wouldn't say I'm I'm certainly not somebody who deciphers that backdrop information from Q. I wouldn't have a clue how to figure that stuff out, but my cards always agree with everything they're about. So it's funny, people have lumped me, and I feel really close to that movement, even though I definitely don't have that kind of brain that, puts that kind of stuff together. I use the cards, but the cards agree with almost everything they're about. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And you mentioned as well about Ghislaine Maxwell. So I'd seen this before, but because of the verdicts in the last couple of days, there were memes going around, and people were showing a thing of Maxwell House, and it was like a jail cell and stuff like that. But that made me think of, so going back to the Future, and I've been saying this a long, long time, is a playbook on what we're going through now. I mean, in part 2, there's a reference to Fauci. There's Jaws 19 that comes out as a hologram. And if you do the word Fauci in Italian, it translates if you do the word Jaws in Italian, it translates to Fauci. So it's like you've got Jaws 19, Fauci 19, and then, the C word 19 that we've experienced. So I was like, oh, yeah. Yep. And then in part 3, Emmett Brown, 148, Donald J. Trump, Simple Gematria, 148, is with Clara Clayton. And if I remember rightly, I think Clara Clayton actually comes to 125, which starts like time travel. But she's looking up at the stars with the golden telescope. There's a company in America that make Bushnell telescopes. I always quite like that one. Golden is 27 Tesla. Anyway, they're looking up at the stars. And she says to him, just out of nowhere, basically, she says, I always used to have this dream when I was young that my dad said that we're going to quarantine for 3 months. And I'd never noticed that before, ever, until we experienced what we'd gone through in 2020. But it was there in Back to the Future 3. I was like, what the heck is she talking about? Quarantining for 3 months? What does she even mean? Everybody knows what that means now. But going to the thing, back to the point with Ghislaine Maxwell and Back to the Future. So there's a clip where Biff is going in to the Marty McFly's home. And Marty McFly's father, George is actually 57 Tesla, 57. And interestingly, the arc of the story is they go from kind of not great to changing things through time travel. And then George is a hero, Tesla's a hero, everything's beautiful and golden, it's all happy days. But anyway, Biff comes in as a kind of a bully, goes into the fridge, and I actually did a screenshot of it. I have to send it to you, but I sent it to a couple of people. And guess what coffee brand is there when Biff's going in at the beginning of Back to the Future into the McFly house? The brand of coffee is Maxwell House.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When you're looking, it's everywhere, hey?
Yeah.
This whole war is like that. Like, there's no getting around it. When your enemy has been using that, you have to use it too. This is what I've been telling my audience. It's like when your enemy is as diabolical, they're literally using witchcraft and manipulating dates and numbers and using all of that, you have to get on board, figure out how it's done, and step right in and use your own in the in the opposite intention, obviously.
Yeah,
because they'd like
jiu-jitsu
us.
that. Yeah.
They'd like us not to figure out the numbers, and they'd like, because they're using them. So that's how a lot of it got discovered, was undoing their little spell casting. Do you know what I mean? By figuring this stuff out, we're going to flip it all right on them. Well, we have all. We're flipping it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. It's Juan said that the other day, jiu-jitsu. You know, you're using what comes at you, and then you divert it and use the same energy and propulsion that they have to your advantage, and then it's all of a sudden there, and you flipped it, like you said, you flipped it completely.
Yeah. So I really think it'd be fun if you asked me a couple questions, either personal or about your business or both, for your 2022, and I'd be happy to do some cards on.
Okay, yeah, that would be fun.
Sure. So, if you're not too shy to do that.
No, I'm not too shy. I'm not too shy. Also, as well, I just wanted to mention quickly, there was a newspaper headline about just before Christmas, or maybe just a day or two after it, and they said in the Star newspaper they had Captain Kirk from Star Trek, and they made reference to warp speed, and it made me think of President Trump's Operation Warp Speed, and so they put it in the news front of the newspaper. So I was like, oh, we're getting closer. You know, he was talking about it maybe a month ago, and then it was there on the front of the Star newspaper. The most kind of disbelieved news, which I think is the most truthful, because they're always putting things in a joke in front of people, you know. So the questions, so okay, let's do it. I mean, I'm open to whatever comes up. So you can, anything that you see for me personally coming into 2022, and maybe the same question in terms of a business sense, you know, kind of growing Psych.Club and seeing where we go. I feel that I need to continue and expand the message of Gematria, and maybe other things that are revealed as well along the way. So be interested to see what comes up.
Okay, so this is more personal.
Yes.
So a writing project you might have had on hold, or somebody's writing something about you. So this could be like published works that's on hold right now, where you don't know about it yet, or you've been thinking about doing it, but you haven't got off the fence yet, because that's off the fence. But this could be a writer. This guy's a writer. And this card here says early sort of in the year, and I'd even say April with that card would be a really good time. So the universe says April is a really good time to start that project. So if you were writing, did you want to write something, start a new channel, what do you got planned there? Anything planned?
I am thinking of expanding, because I love the numbers, and I see that more of us need to understand that, well, globally, but I'm also thinking, well, so kind of connecting things that I've done previously. I do know a lot of people in soccer and football, and some in the movies, and I've done interviews before with people, and I'm thinking, now that I have more of a platform, I can maybe integrate that and keep my core audience, but also bring, which is fun, you know, it brings a more of an audience. I can teach some numbers, but maybe just more basically, so kind of serve the two, you know, those that are real hardcore and know everything about the Patriot movement, and they want to get the daily drops on the numbers. I'll continue to do that, but I'm also thinking, well, how can I bring in more people to the truth that we've got, but how can I make it in such a way that is I guess more appealing, and just naturally people will gravitate towards. And so I have been thinking that, so there's interest in that comes up. In terms of that writing thing, the guy with the first card with is that a good writing card? What does that say?
That's the writer card. This guy's a writer, or he's a filmmaker, but he puts his word out there, and he gets it out there to the public. And he's known to be, you know, very intelligent, and he's well read and educated. So he brings what he knows and shares it with the public. Public speaking, that could really step up to, where you actually. That's interesting, because I've got some real good friends that are patriots across the pond. One of them being Scott McKay, and Scott does his rallies, and they're superb. That's how I met Rachel, actually, in Iowa, because I went to the Scott McKay
rally with Mickey, and we met a few of them there. But Scott does the tour, and we've been talking about it, and he does it. He speaks at other people's things, so that might be something that perhaps coming. And even like you say about the filming. So my friend Dave Mahoney makes films, and I've been thinking if I get, when I'm able to get really great kind of guests, not everyone's a great guest, but I want to talk people that are with gravitas in this, in the world, people will want to watch it. And maybe there's a way we can do kind of a nice kind of almost interview documentary kind of style around it. So I have been thinking about that as well. So that's interesting. The card is writing, public speaking, filmmaking. So those have been in my, they've been in my, I guess, in the forefront of my mind really for the last little while. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
And on a more personal note, it looks like you're meeting a soulmate. So I don't know if you're partnered or not, but this card's a big partnering card with somebody instantly knowing, like as if you've known each other before. So there could be a big partnership coming in the next year. And I'm thinking romantic or at least emotional, because there's that cup card and it's very emotional, but it's spiritually, divinely, you're put together. So it's somebody you have an agreement to come together and work together in a relationship. So it's like a karmic relationship's coming in the next year. So that'll be a kind of a gift. So
cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. That sounds good, Janine. Yeah.
Okay,
I
let's
like the sound of that.
channel real quick. Let's do a Psych.Club look, because we got some other stuff brewing, and that could have, because a lot of the truthers, I think, when things really do the shift, if that's really going to happen, which I believe it is, we're going to be the new news. Like we're going to be people that go to, like, for everybody, not just for our communities, which, I was told a long time ago by a reader who, my very first reading ever, I didn't even know about tarot. Somebody dragged me for a reading. I was a Catholic girl, so I wasn't brought up with the idea of tarot cards. And I got this reading, and the woman told me my whole life, and that included, she said I'd be on television, which back then, we would have thought she wouldn't have known about, YouTube. She said I'd be on television and I'd get a huge following. I'd be a reader for all of my life. Then I'd get on television and I'd get a huge following. And then she said I would become world famous. Some overnight situation would happen. And then I would need to have a hideaway place because I'd have so many people seeking me out. Well, that's definitely not, we're not there yet. But I do have a huge following, which I feel really so grateful. So like everything she said's happening. So it led me to believe. Oh, she also said I'd meet a whole bunch of famous people after that shift and travel the world. So that makes me think the big shift comes any minute, I'm hoping. And then next year I do a lot more travel, because she said it would be early in my 60s. This would all be happening, and I'd be traveling by 60, 61, 62. I'm world traveling. Well, I definitely can't world travel right now. So I'm thinking everything she ever told me has already come to pass. So I'm just waiting for that travel to come. You know what I mean? Like I've been told, I was told this in the 80s.
Wow. That's interesting about the TV thing, because I felt that instantly with you. I think I might have said it on a couple of the shows we've done, but I felt that instantly with you. I was like, oh, wow. And I just saw that you'd have your own TV show. I mean, YouTube is a TV show, but I also see that you will be on networks and,
right on.
Like,
well,
you're the go-to girl for tarot. What's that?
They're going to have to clean up the networks and get the deep state. I think it already is in the background, cleaned.
Yeah, I think so.
We're going to have to reinvent all of those tools, because they're such good tools. But they've been used against us.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm looking at your channel, and we've got a lot of growth there, and having a lot of different sort of. It looks like you're going to try a whole lot of different things. So you may expand, because the magician tries a bunch of things. You may expand what guests you bring on and what kind of format you have, because this card says you're going to get pretty active with trying all kinds of new things. some things have been difficult on the channel. Have you been shut down or anything?
I've had some things. Yes, I'm on. No, I'm on there, but I get, how would you say it? The shadow. I have that.
Shadow banned. Yeah.
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 I've had that, and so I do get a few things. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, because there's going to be a little bit in the first few months, maybe, or even month. I feel like they'll really crack down for the very last time with truthers. But just be patient. That's the advice. A lot of abundance, and then like huge growth.
Okay.
Huge growth. You might even have really famous guests on there. So Mr. T comes up as the Empress a lot. So does
great.
Princess Di has come up as her, you know what I mean? Famous people anyway. So you could really step up, and some of the people you've been talking about doing these numbers on could actually appear on your show. Wow. That would be exciting.
What was the first card you showed there, Janine, where it looked like someone on a gondola? What's that one?
Six of, so moving out of troubled water. So moving out, getting the word out, because there's been setbacks, and you're being shadow banned for sure, but it's almost finished. That's almost done. I personally believe YouTube's going to do a big turnaround and actually be a useful platform again. Real soon. I do. That's why I stuck on it all this time.
Yeah, same here. And you know what the numbers on YouTube come to?
What's that?
109, which comes to Diana Spencer, comes to Psych.Club, and it comes to 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, any parting words for our audience, Tom?
Well, parting words, party, have it, whatever you're doing, New Year's, have a great time. And I'm full of juice, full of life for what's to come in 2022. So that card reading, the personal, the business, and for Psych.Club and the expansion was really great. Thank you, Janine. And people that want to know about the numbers, I do have, you'll see it on my channel, but I do have a product. It's called Trumpology, and it just teaches you A is 1, Z is 26. And it's just a little digital download, but very powerful, very useful. So it's a beginner's guide to the numbers, and it's priced $17. So it's not much, but it's very helpful. Parting words, just anyone looking for a better future and brighter optimism and hope. I believe we're going to get a lot of that in this next coming year. It's the transition. It's the two things, getting rid of the old guard. Some of it's ridiculous and confusing, and sometimes for people it's scary. I don't think you or me ever get scared of all this because we kind of know where we're going now. But if people feel that, just gravitate to what Janine's doing, what I do with the numbers and other truthers, and also I would encourage anybody that is feeling they want to say stuff, step up. Like you said before, Janine, there's an infinite amount of room on YouTube, so there's a lot of truthers that are out there that would like to say things. Get on the bus, and it could be the route to freedom that you're looking for. So I'd encourage people to do that. If you've got something you're ready to say, get out and do it. So that's what I would say.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, Tom. That was very enlightening. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that so much. I hope to have you on again, because I'm planning on doing more interviewing, because I'm quite enjoying the interviewing.
Yeah, I'd love to. That would be great, Janine. It's been a pleasure, and I've always loved coming on and doing the shows with you. And so I really like this format. It's been really good. Fun.
Okay. Well, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody out there watching. And Tom's going to be celebrating midnight a lot sooner than we are, but have fun, whatever you're up to tonight.
I will do. Thanks, Janine. God bless. Take care.
God bless you too. Okay.